Your government just put $1,000 in a newborn's name. On the 4th of July, Treasury started funding them. Trump accounts. Every American child born from 2025 through 2028 can get a $1,000 seed, locked until 18. Parents are being told about compounding, about what $1,000 becomes in 18 years. Almost nobody is being told what happened the last time a government tried this, because a government did try this. Britain, 2005. Every baby born to a family claiming child benefit got money in an account in their own name. Not a pilot, 6.3 million children. This already happened. Britain ran it for under 6 years, then a new government killed it. The accounts kept growing anyway, and when those children turned 18 and the money unlocked, 758,000 of them never came to collect it. £1.5 billion, around $2 billion, sitting in the names of young adults who mostly do not know it is there. So, hold one question for the rest of this. Britain handed the money out automatically. No form, no application, nothing for a parent to remember. America is asking parents to file a form. If the easy version leaked $2 billion, what does the hard version do? The man behind it was Gordon Brown, Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, the job that runs the Treasury. In his budget speech of April 2003, Brown told the Commons that the government would establish, in every newborn's name, a child trust fund. Progressive and universal, he called it. Benefiting every child, not a benefit, not a payment to the parents, capital in the child's own name, untouchable until adulthood. So in April 2005, the Child Trust Fund launched, backdated to every baby born in Britain since September 2002. A voucher arrived in the mail, £250, around £450 in today's money, a little over $600. Children in the poorest third of households got double that. Set that against the American number. Britain's low-income voucher, carried forward to today, was worth more than the flat $1,000 an American newborn gets now. And for part of the scheme's life, Britain paid a second time when the child turned 7. The parent took the voucher to a bank or a building society, Britain's savings and loan, and opened the account. Most were stakeholder accounts, stocks-based with a cap on fees. About 1 in 6 was cash only. The child could start managing it at 16. At 18, it unlocked, and the money was theirs, with no strings at all. And now the part the American design does not have. If a parent did nothing, Britain's tax authority opened the account for them. Automatically. No form, no phone call, no website. That happened 1.7 million times, more than one account in 4. And those were not random families. 51% of the accounts the tax authority opened belonged to low-income children, against 30% of the accounts parents opened themselves. The state was catching, by default, exactly the children the policy was built for. £2 billion of government money, all told. Then it stopped. In the emergency budget of 2010, the new Chancellor, George Osborne, cut the payment from £250 to $50 and then ended it. The scheme closed to new entrants in January 2011, replaced by something called the Junior ISA. Same tax shelter. No government money in it at all. 9 birth years got in. Nobody after them did. And that would be the whole story, except for what happened when the first of those children turned 18. The first accounts matured on the 1st of September 2020. They have been coming due ever since at an average of about $55,000 a month. One of the first was Carrie McWalter, about to start a pharmacy course in Edinburgh, who found £1,400 waiting in an account she had never heard of, around $1,900 at today's exchange rate. Her explanation was simple. Her mother had forgotten about it. Now multiply that by a country. By April 2025, 3 million accounts had matured. 758,000 of them had never been claimed, roughly 1 in 4. And forgetting is only one way to lose it. In 2023, the BBC reported on Ramandeep Kaur, whose son Harry, then 16, has Down syndrome. His account held more than £7,000, around $9,500. He cannot manage it himself, and his mother cannot reach it for him without going to the Court of Protection and being appointed his deputy. The Ministry of Justice told auditors it cannot say how many young people are in Harry's position. Its estimate is a range, and not a narrow one, somewhere between 63,000 and 126,000. The state could not count them either. So Britain's failure was not that the money was too small. It was not that the investments were bad, or that some teenager blew it on something stupid. Those are the failures people expect. Britain's failure was contact. The state could put money in a child's name. It could not reliably tell that child, 18 years later, that the money existed. Names change, families move, providers merge. 18 years is a long time to keep track of someone who was a baby the last time you had their address. Now look at what America built. Trump accounts are opt-in. To get the $1,000, someone has to file IRS Form 4547 or enroll through trumpaccounts.gov or submit the election inside an IRS online account. There is no default. If a parent does nothing, nothing happens, though the window does stay open until the end of the year the child turns 17. And that was a decision, not an oversight. People asked Treasury to make enrollment automatic, and Treasury turned it down. It gave two reasons. Doing it itself would mean running the full account opening process under banking, securities, and anti-money laundering law. And Section 6103, which bars the IRS from disclosing taxpayer information unless the law expressly allows it, would block the steps needed to open the account, invest the money, or even tell a parent the account was there. That is a real legal constraint. It is also the exact place Britain's scheme sprang its leak, moved to the front of the process instead of the back. So what happens when a program is opt-in? This part is not speculation. It has been measured twice. Early Treasury data, cited by the Urban Institute, put enrollment at about 39% of the children eligible for the $1,000. The Institute's own survey, fielded in March and April, found that 60% of American adults had even heard of the accounts, 66% of white adults, 47% of black adults, 49% of Hispanic adults. Awareness is lowest among the families $1,000 would move the needle for. And then there is Maine. Maine has run a children's savings program since 2008, the Alphond Grant. $500 for every baby born in the state. For the first 5 years it was opt-in, and take-up sat at around 40%. In 2013, Maine changed one thing. It made the grant automatic. Enrollment went to essentially everyone. Same money, same state, same families. The only variable was whether a parent had to fill in a form. That is the rhyme, and it runs in an uncomfortable direction. Britain did the generous thing and the automatic thing and still lost track of 1 and 4. America has done the generous thing and skipped the automatic one, which brings up the detail that should bother you most, and it is not an American one. Britain's unclaimed pile is not shrinking, it is growing. In April 2024, 670,000 unclaimed matured accounts. 1 year later, 758,000. New cohorts are turning 18 faster than the old ones are being found, and the last British Child Trust Fund does not mature until January 2029. The payments were scrapped 16 years ago. The problem is still getting bigger, and Britain cannot tell you precisely how much money it has lost. In September 2025, the tax authority announced that those 758,000 accounts held, on average, £2,242 each. That number is wrong. It is the average across every child trust fund still open, including the ones engaged parents are actively managing. The tax authority's own statistics put the average unclaimed account at £1,980. The Treasury repeated the inflated figure in June of this year in a press release that contradicted itself inside a single page. The government overstated its own lost property by roughly £200 million. That is the organization responsible for finding it. Now the honest part, because this parallel is not clean. The two schemes point in opposite directions. Britain's was deliberately redistributive. double vouchers for the poorest third, and extra payment at 7. Trump accounts pay a flat 1,000 and not even to every child. Citizenship and a social security number are required and someone still has to file. Then 5,000 a year in contributions on top. Critics argue that structure rewards the households who already have 5,000 a year spare. Whatever you make of that, it is the reverse of what Britain was trying to do. And the failure mechanisms also opposites. They do not produce the same number. Britain's unclaimed accounts exist because the state opened them without the family involved. America's gap exists because it will not. You cannot take Britain's 1 in 4 and expect it to turn up in Ohio. The locks are different, and so is the loss. British money unlocked at 18, unconditionally, which is part of why some of it went missing. Trump accounts stay locked until January of the year the child turns 18, then behave like a traditional IRA, with a 10% additional tax on withdrawals before 59.5, unless one of the standard IRA exceptions applies. That list is long. The risk is not a teenager with 1,400 pounds. It is money sitting in a wrapper that may be worse for a particular family than a 529 or a custodial Roth, because government contributions and every dollar of gain come out taxed as ordinary income rather than as capital gains. And the British scheme died with a change of government. That is a fact about the past. It is not a forecast about anything. So what does the pattern make worth watching? The mechanism still running is the one Britain proved. In a savings scheme, the binding constraint is not how generous the seed is. It is how many people the money can find. Every step placed between a child and their account is a leak, and leaks compound quietly for 18 years, until the accounts mature and somebody counts. 3 specific things to watch. First, whether Treasury ever publishes a running count of $1,000 seeds actually deposited rather than sign-ups. Those are very different numbers. Around 7 million children have been signed up. On Treasury's own figures, only about 1.4 million qualify for the $1,000. Roughly 3 in 4 sign-ups get no government money at all. The only deposit figure on the record came from the president at the launch. 500,000 accounts funded on the 4th of July. Treasury has published no running total since. Second, whether the enrollment rate holds once the launch publicity fades. Opt-in programs get their best numbers in month 1. The 2027 and 2028 cohorts will arrive with no launch behind them. Third, whether the rules get finished. The regulations proposed in March deliberately left the rest blank, reserving the sections on contributions, investments, distributions, and reporting, both during the growth period and after it. Those are the rules that decide what the child actually keeps. A hearing is set for October. 18 years of compounding are already running under guidance that is not final. None of that is a prediction, and none of it is advice. It is a list of the places the British experiment leaked, translated into the American one. Britain put money in a newborn's name and then lost the newborn. So if there is a child in your life born since 2025, the useful question is probably not what $1,000 becomes in 18 years. Compound interest charts are easy. Everybody has one. The useful question is the boring one. In 18 years, who is going to remember?